Ever stumble upon something so fascinating you just have to dive deeper? That's what we do here on Arcane Intelligence, your guide to all things fantasy and tabletop role-playing games, or TTRPGs for short. And today, we're tackling a question we hear a lot from newcomers. What even are TTRPGs?
It's like choosing your own adventure, but with friends, dice, and a dash of collaborative storytelling magic.
I love that.
Ah.
And to help us break it down, we're using a fantastic example. The web serial, The Wandering Inn. Imagine this, you're brand new to the world of fantasy and suddenly you're dropped right into the story, just like the main character, Erin.
The Wandering Inn is a great pick because it's become incredibly popular in the world of online fantasy. It's like the gateway drug to web serials.
And it's full of these awesome elements that you'd also find in a TTRPG campaign. So picture this. Erin, our protagonist, stumbles upon this abandoned inn. The author sets the scene so vividly. The inn was dark and empty when the traveler arrived. It appeared suddenly, rising above the gentle hills and valleys of autumnal grass that blew in the wind, green, orange, and even purple in places. You can practically feel the breeze and see the colorful landscape, right?
It's that attention to detail that really pulls you into the story, and it's something you'll often find in TTRPGs too. A good dungeon master, or DM, that's like the storyteller or referee, will use vivid descriptions to help players imagine the world around them.
Right. It's like setting the stage for an epic adventure. But back to Erin. She walks into this mysterious inn, and you immediately get the sense that she doesn't belong. It's like she's stepped into a whole new world. There's this strange burn on her arm. She's feeling disoriented, and then she gets attacked by a goblin.
Talk about a rough first day on the job, right? This fish out of water trope, where an ordinary person is thrown into extraordinary circumstances, is a popular one in both fantasy literature and TTRPGs. It allows the audience to experience the wonder and danger of this new world right alongside the character.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. As Erin navigates this strange new place, she starts getting these weird messages in her head. Things like, "Congratulations, you are now an innkeeper level 1."
That's right. It's like a video game, but instead of staring at a screen, you're actively shaping the story with your choices and actions. Many TTRPGs use similar systems of levels and experience points to track character progression.
So imagine you're sitting around a table with your friends, and as you overcome challenges and complete quests, your character gains experience and levels up, just like Erin. But it's not just about numbers.
Exactly. Leveling up usually means gaining new abilities, skills, or even spells, which adds a really fun and rewarding layer to the game.
It's like unlocking your potential in this fantastical world.
Precisely. Now, going back to The Wandering Inn, one of the things I find most captivating is how the author uses these incredibly vivid details to make the world feel real. Like that line about the clouds. The clouds were too big. It was larger than the entire plains.
Chills. It's such a simple line, but so effective.
Exactly. It's not just about telling you it's a fantasy world, it's about showing you. And those small sensory details, like the wind rustling through the green to orange and even into purple grass, are what really immerse you in the experience.
It's like the author painted a picture with words. And speaking of captivating details, Erin's first real encounter with the dangers of this new world is pretty memorable. You're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
She runs into a giant crab hiding under a rock,
Now, that's what we call ecological strangeness in fantasy. It's like taking something familiar like a crab and giving it a fantastical twist.
which is something you'd totally see in a TTRPG. Right. It keeps things exciting and unpredictable.
Absolutely. It's all about subverting expectations. You might think you're safe just strolling through a forest, but in a fantasy world, even the trees can be trying to kill you.
Okay, maybe not literally. But in The Wandering Inn, even the trees are different. Erin tries to break off a branch, but they're super thin and resilient, almost like metal.
Right.
It's like the natural world itself is infused with magic.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important element of both fantasy and TTRPGs. The idea that there's always more to discover. Just when you think you understand the rules of this world, something new pops up to challenge your assumptions.
Like, what's up with those weird glowing mushrooms Erin keeps finding? Are they friendly? Are they going to poison her? I need answers.
That's the beauty of a well-crafted story or campaign. It keeps you guessing and makes you want to explore every nook and cranny. And speaking of things that make you want to hide in a corner, remember that dragon we mentioned earlier?
Oh, right. We haven't even gotten to the best part yet.
And this is where The Wandering Inn really shines in terms of connecting with TTRPGs. Because we don't just see the dragon as this big, scary monster. We get inside his head.
Yeah. We see his perspective, his worries, even his hilarious over-the-top reactions to Erin's stumbling into his secret lair.
And this, my friend, is something you'd experience all the time in a TTRPG session. The dungeon master might describe a fearsome dragon terrorizing a village, but they're also thinking about that dragon's motivations, its personality, maybe even its secret weakness for goblin-shaped cookies.
Wait, goblin-shaped cookies. Okay, now I need to know more about your TTRPG campaigns.
We'll save that for another time.
Hmm?
But the point is, this idea of giving even the monsters depth and personality is huge in both worlds. It makes everything feel more real and believable.
Totally. It's like, just because something is big and breathes fire doesn't mean it can't also be a total scaredy cat deep down.
Right. Precisely. And that's something the author does brilliantly with the dragon. Even though he's ancient and powerful, he's also terrified of Erin because she represents the unknown.
And it's through his internal monologue that we get these little hints about the wider world of the story. He mentions things like necromancers and knights, and I'm immediately hooked. It's like the author is dropping clues, inviting us to piece together this larger mystery.
Absolutely. This is a technique called information gapping, and it's a fantastic way to build intrigue and keep the audience engaged. You see it in TTRPGs, too, where the DM might hint at a hidden danger or powerful artifact without revealing all the details right away.
So it's like breadcrumbs leading you deeper into the story. And in a TTRPG, you and your fellow players get to decide which breadcrumbs to follow.
Exactly. And that brings us to another crucial parallel between the Wandering Inn and the world of tabletop gaming. The importance of character agency.
By that you mean how Erin, even though she's kind of thrown into this crazy situation, still gets to make her own choices about how she reacts to things.
Yes. And those choices have real consequences. Just like in a TTRPG, where if your character decides to pick a fight with a dragon, well, there will be consequences. Hopefully they're the kind you'll find fun and exciting, of course.
And that's where the collaborative storytelling aspect comes in.
Yeah.
Because in a TTRPG, you're not just passively consuming a story, you're actively shaping it alongside the DM and the other players.
Precisely. It's like you're all co-authors of this grand adventure. The DM sets the scene, presents the challenges, but ultimately it's the player's choices that determine how the story unfolds.
And just like in The Wandering Inn, those choices can lead to unexpected twists and turns. That's what makes it so exciting. One minute you're cleaning out a dusty old inn, and the next you're facing down a giant crab or befriending a sarcastic ghost.
You never know what's going to happen next. And that sense of wonder and surprise, of endless possibilities, is something that both fantasy literature and tabletop role-playing games do exceptionally well.
It's like opening a door to a world where anything is possible. And that's what I love about both The Wandering Inn and TTRPGs in general. They spark this sense of adventure, this feeling that you can be anyone and do anything.
Exactly. And for anyone who's ever felt limited by the real world, that feeling of limitless possibility can be incredibly liberating.
Totally. So, to bring it all back to our original question, what are TTRPGs? I think we can safely say they're more than just intense board games, right?
Definitely not. They're a unique blend of storytelling, strategy, role-playing, and social interaction. It's about connecting with friends, exploring fantastical worlds, and creating stories together that you'll be reminiscing about for years to come.
And if The Wandering Inn has taught us anything, it's that even in a world with dragons and magic, it's the human, or, well, sometimes non-human, connections that really make a story come alive.
Absolutely. Those moments of humor, of camaraderie, of shared peril and triumph, those are the things that make both TTRPGs and fantasy literature so captivating and rewarding.
They remind us that even in the face of the unknown, we don't have to face it alone. So for anyone listening who's ever been curious about TTRPGs, I hope this deep dive has given you a taste of the magics that awaits.
And maybe even inspired you to gather some friends and embark on your own tabletop adventure?
Couldn't have said it better myself. And for more deep dives into the worlds of fantasy and tabletop role-playing games, be sure to subscribe to Arcane Intelligence, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, happy gaming.